Edge Radio Australia, welcome indeed to the Genius Zone here. Doing the show as normal is our resident genius. And my word, tell you what she doesn't know, it's just not worth even talking about. It is, of course, Terry Messenger. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too, Aaron. And I thought you were going to say for a moment, what she doesn't know won't hurt her.
Well, bit of both.
And I'm thinking on this topic maybe too.
Well, look, we're going to hit a very hard sort of subject here, aren't we? Let's face it. This is going to be a tough one, but we're going to get into it. Now, we have a special guest out there, and I'm just doing a couple of things, if I can, in the background. There's a couple of little changes we need to make last minute. But what we need to do here is probably, look, it's
Bring
a very,
I can talk about it.
It's a very heavy subject. So
it is.
If I can give you the opportunity to do a little bit of introduction, that'd be fantastic.
I'd love
and
to.
then we'll bring our special guest on board.
Yes. Well, you know that we are all about helping people, empowering people. And this woman, she is an advocate. She is a leader. She is extremely passionate about helping many people. And in this topic, it's about grieving fathers who have been alienated and who require restoration, hope, identity, and connection. So this woman is from all the way over in beautiful Queensland.
Love Queensland.
And with no further ado, bring her on, Hilary Swank. Hello, Hilary.
Hilary Swanky, no less.
How are we, guys?
We are very, very well indeed. We thank you very much for you making the time and effort to talk about a subject that, I'll be very frank, I'll get on the front foot on this one. This is a subject that a lot of women avoid talking about because they consider it to be very much a male subject. I don't agree with that. I think it's a child subject. I think it's about child's welfare and you know, a lot of child abuse that takes place. We've hitting the hard words straight away. So let's get into, give us a little bit of a background, if we can, of you and what the work that you're involved with.
Sure. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Edge Radio, to you, Aaron and Terry, for having me on this segment. I so appreciate the opportunity to share what I'm about to share.
Our pleasure.
So please, and to the audience, please, if you are triggered by anything you're about to hear, that's okay. However, please know this is my truth. This is my account of my reality derived from all the researched and documented information freely available. When you know where to look, and from all the lived experiences of those brave enough to share their experiences in the support groups, whatever that support group looks like, please don't be too triggered by what you hear. I ask you to stay with me, with us, listen to this segment in its entirety, and then make more informed decisions if and when necessary.
Beautiful. So there's a trigger warning there.
Yep.
And I guess that could be when it hits the heart. You know, that's what happens.
Oh, most definitely.
So, you know, let's kick off. You know, after speaking with you backstage, Hilary, my question would be, and I'm going to say I'm a little, and this is probably the wrong word, but agnostic. They use it in the Christian, circles.
Sure.
But because I don't know a lot about this topic, but I'm very keen on what you're doing and the fact you do want to bring peace back to humanity. So my question would be, what has happened to a system that is so broken that it's causing this alienation and these problems and our children to be in the position they are because, you know, where's the justice in it? Do you want to sort of open up a little on that as well?
Well, I've definitely got a lot of opinions on this, but I really want to hear Hilary's. Hilary, what's your opinion on the system and it's, well, if it's broken, what you feel that are the main points there?
Well, this is what I have learned. This is where it gets really tough for some, for this is truth, and truth is sometimes difficult. It's a difficult pill to swallow. However, truth is fact, and truth and fact cannot be distorted or disputed. So there's a global movement run by an elite group, and that's a topic for another day, to take our men away from us, to weaken the family unit, leave our women and children vulnerable to the system, vulnerable to the handouts from these elite groups, vulnerable to the drugs supplied that devastate our lives, to the potential for our children to travel the road of incarceration. Because when you don't have your man, father there to help guide and provide and protect you, you know, children go off on a really dark road sometimes, and they end up in the system as well. They create the problem, then offer a solution. This is how they operate. This is how they fool us. I'm talking about the elite groups here. Here's the first big pill of truth I hit you with. People ask why of our so-called government. And the answer is, we actually do not have a government. Stay with me. We have a corporation owned by Overseas Investment, the elite group. And our so-called government is controlled by these elite groups. And if you really want confirmation of that, a few months ago, I asked Malcolm Roberts, when he was at a gathering from the One Nation Party, I said, what can be done about the pedo club in our education system? His answer, and I quote, "Oh, don't expect the government to do anything. It's up to the parents." End quote. I went, really? Okay. So it's common knowledge. I don't know if you're aware of it, but when a perpetrator is identified in a school, in the education department, they just simply transfer them from one school to another. There is no police investigation, no police report, no government intervention. Why? Because we don't have a police service for the people. We don't have a government for the people. They are owned by the elites. Another example is there is a group of people who have stood at the gates of the GG, the Governor General, since early 21. They have been there every single day asking for the release of the list of 28 pedophilias who are members of our corporate and political arenas to be exposed. This is common knowledge. Yes, Bill Heffernan brought this out in 1997. There was the Wood Royal Commission into it. This list is a police document, and our then Prime Minister, Mr. Howard, put a stamp on it, classified stamp. So it could not be open for 99 years, which is after these perpetrators have all left this earth. So these people are still standing at the Governor General's at the GG's gate. Now, the GG can't do anything. According to our Constitution, the GG has the power to dissolve and sack the Prime Minister if that is warranted.
And it's been done.
The GG, it has, but the GG can no longer do it because it's not a government. It's a corporate entity.
Well, It's very interesting you say that, because obviously we can wind the clock back. What is it now? We're getting on a bit. To 51 years, I believe. Hang on, if my maths is right there. Where, of course, Kerr, when the Gough-Whitlam government, the Labor government, was fired by the Governor General because they'd made such an incredible mess. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the fact of the matter is there's so much nepotism here. You've got right now a Governor General who has actually been allocated by the Prime Minister. It's not like they're going to fire him. Let's be very frank, and that's right for both of the major parties, and that's why we see the two parties are falling to bits to such a big degree. I think. Look, I thoroughly agree with everything you're saying, and as far as you and I could have a very long conversation about what actually took place between 1971 and 1975. Quite frankly, much of the policy of what's going on in the world right now was developed at that point, certainly was instigated at that point. But right now, let's wind the clock forward a little bit, and let's talk about what we can do right now. Because I'm very much aware of what you're saying. So many of our listeners are actually very much aware of what you're saying. The 99-year clause, and I'm not. I feel sick saying this because I don't want to defend Howard or any of the other politicians by any stretch of imagination, but I will say that it wasn't strictly just him on his own that actually put the ball. And I do feel for Malcolm Roberts, if I may. Someone I actually know personally. And so maybe, this is a little biased because I do know him personally, but there's a man who really fights against the system. And I think to a big degree, what you've just said is resignation that, he knows he's fighting a machine that he can't beat. So maybe there's a little bit of that going on.
So let's ask you a question, Hillary. This is something, and maybe Aaron, you can certainly intervene as well.
Sure.
So with all of what you are passionate about and you can see and identify that is happening, what would you make as the first change? If you were going to be the power of change, what would you like to see happening?
Healing first. I would like to see healing. Men are just hanging on a thread, and it is not only men, it is our children, it's our mothers, our fathers, our wives, our husbands, our families, our children. They're hanging by a thread. I read, I see, I hear the despair as people share all day long, many not sure how much longer they can actually hang on, and posts of those who couldn't hang on any longer. These support groups are actually the first step for those broken by the system to share and be 100% supported. These groups are where people can get out and what they're holding, and their first step in healing. It's being in these groups. There's no judgment. There's pure acceptance and inclusion, a belonging, and a first step in changing and transitioning to living a life with true support, more integrity, a life with and in truth. The healing part is so important.
Oh, well, I'm all for that. So healing, because there's so much trauma. I can hear there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of identity issues. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of politics, so we're sort of covering all those areas. So if you were going to, let's just, I'm going to put you in a position here where you may be the ambassador or the person, the light for healing. What would you call the group? So is it aimed at men who are, broken? Is it aimed at families?
This is actually, I met a beautiful lady 1.5 weeks ago, and she traveled the road of incarceration and living in the dark side, and she's transitioned, and she said to me, we in that side of life think that all the normies have no clue about trauma. She said, and as I transitioned and came through, she said, yous are all worse than us, some of you. We're all. So this is for everyone, but I really want to, my heart is in this space at the moment, but it's also for, there are people who work in the corrections and in these departments, in the justice system, who are good people as well. They have heart and soul, and when they also show respect or consideration to someone on the other side, they are also persecuted and traumatized within the system that they work. So this, I want to build, I'm sorry, I want to build a village.
Yes, okay. A colony.
And you know what, with this colony that you're building, this isn't about gender. This is not about men versus women. That ideal has got to stop. People have got to stop thinking that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's just for one or the other.
Yeah. Like something I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Hillary, but I want to wind all the way back to the start of this conversation when you asked about, what is broken in the system. And I've got a couple of points I want to make on that. The system is not broken at all. It works perfectly for those who designed it for themselves. It works perfectly for those. And it is not a justice system, it is a legal system. Justice in today's world, in the legal system, means just us, just the protected class. So we need to, and language is important here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I believe
we have to understand that, you know what, lawyers, and understand also why lawyers get away with this. Well, lawyers get away with it, judges get away with it. Why? Because if you look into politics, you look into the parties, most parties are normally about 60% lawyers now, okay? So they feed each other, and certainly the financial side of the political system is fed by lawyers to a large extent. So it's very incestuous, and this is something we need to deal with. So look, I think we need to work together. It's very, very easy to go and look at the other side, to look at the other gender and see them as the enemy.
Yeah.
It's completely wrong. If you look at the most basics of human beings, yin and yang, we need each other. We need the negative, we need the positive, but we also need the feminine and the masculine.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay,
I agree.
I want to read something. Can I just read some? I'm just going to go to the next thing there, if that's okay. So building the village. I'm going to go through this whole thing. So I've connected with a guy who traveled the road of incarceration, traveled a dark road out, and came out and said to self, I cannot do that anymore. I do not want to be that person anymore. I'm going to change my life, and it is a total change of life. I'm going to be here for the greater good and help anyone who has experienced what I have. So he went and became a counsellor. Then he moved into 9D breathwork. 9D breathwork, and breathwork in itself is becoming huge. It addresses trauma. It releases your trauma, allows you to have clarity. It allows you to find truth within. It allows you to come to terms with all the pain and suffering you have experienced, and that doesn't mean it happens in one session. It depends on the depth of your trauma. It depends on the various areas where your trauma has been experienced and manifested. It is a cleansing, a detox from your former life. So I've aligned with a breath worker. Actually, I've aligned with two. I've aligned with an equine therapist that's working with horses. Horses are extremely spiritual and intuitive. They can actually feel your heartbeat from somewhere between 4 and 10 meters away. They get a sense of you, and I believe that many animals do, especially predatory animals, when they sense fear. Animals get a sense of our frequency, our energy, our vibration, our intention. So I've aligned with an equine therapist. I've also aligned with a church, not in the sense of a Catholic or Seventh-day Adventist worship, building for worship, nothing like that. It's a support group essentially for those who have traveled the journey of incarceration. I went for the first time a week and a half ago. I walked in, sat down, looked around at all the bare feet.
Really?
And went, hallelujah, and kicked off my shoes. This was such a beautiful group full of love and support, respect. It soothed my soul. It brought joy to my heart and is healing for the pain. So my part in all of this is to facilitate monthly gatherings for those who wish to attend, with a vision to having fishing days, going camping, having working bees where we help each other with our cars, our trailers, our bikes. If there's furniture that needs fixing, if a tradie wants to pick his tools up again. And have social nights, games nights, barbecues, whole social events such as going to give men a space to share men's business and women a safe space to share women's business, bringing families together socially in a safe space. So many mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, children of those incarcerated are left hanging without support. Let's build villages, people. We can do this together. And as we do, we repair what has been broken in every aspect of our lives.
Oh my God. This. You know what? You have got this. Do you know, I just visualized, I just went to town. You just painted this enormous picture. And I saw a retreat.
Okay.
And you know how they create retreats for drug addicts. And I know that we've got a retreat in Esperance where drug addicted people go, and it's very hard to get into it. But what you're talking about, you get the right facilitators, and you're talking about breath work. And I mean, that's life force. And breath work does change your physiology. It changes the way you feel. It relaxes you. And, you know, it's interesting because we are going to be bringing on to the show later on in the month, or maybe early next month, someone who's gone through incarceration themselves. And they've been on that journey of drug addiction. And I can tell you right now that that person is not that same person.
No.
And everybody does deserve to have a chance. And, you know, it takes me back to a story, in clinic years ago when a man that was addicted to heroin, and he'd lost his children to DCP, and his sister had sent him to see me. And, you know, he cried and cried so many tears because he'd lost his kids. And he was sitting in this, he had a big long beard, he had tattoos, he'd been, you know, addicted to heroin. He had to go through the court system to get unaddicted, but he said, I really want to see this lady because I'd, you know, heard, you know, a lot about her. And I can remember, you know, because the kind of work that we do is more the subconscious. So it was about him being able to get very clear on what he wanted. And when I said to him, well, you know, what do you want? Because quite often people don't know.
No.
And especially when they're in trauma. And, you know, he again cried and he said, Terry, do you know what? All as I want is to be sitting around a table with my kids and having dinner. I want to do that.
It's so incredibly simple that will change your life.
Yeah.
Look, I was just going to say, Hillary, very quickly, is that, so, I mean, a lot of people will look down at people who've had drug addiction or alcohol addiction or this, or and I'll be frank, I have been that guy. I've been the guy who's looked down at people and thought, why is this going on? But when my life, certainly was rather smashed around, to put it mildly, the things that, what I discovered is it's what people are doing is self-medicating. They're trying to make the pain go away. That drug use and alcohol use are all about trying to make the pain go away. And it's so unbelievably sad to see that. But and it can do so much damage. If you don't have the right people around you, you don't get out of it. Exactly. And this is why this sort of what we're talking about here is so important. See that we've got a comment that's come through one of our channels. Let's have a look.
Let's have a look at the
there we go. Oh, very nice. There we go.
Mr. Cartier.
Mr. Cartier is saying, have a great show, which is great. Thank you very much. I've actually seen that we've got some other messages coming through, but they're not coming through on the screen.
Don't you just love that?
So frustrating, but never mind. So I know they're coming and I've got to read them next week, but never mind, or after the show. So, look, I think what you're talking about here, Hillary, it's very, very positive. We talk about the breath work. We talk about these things. We talk about community. And something you've just mentioned too. Like I've got a very close friend of mine that I'm a car guy, okay? So, like, that's my therapy, being in the shed, spinning the tools. And I'll tell you right now, I don't do it anywhere near enough because it just does so much good for me. Every time I do it, every time I'm there, because it's just something about talking a lot of crap with your mates in the shed while you're playing cars. You're in a very safe environment. You can be yourself. You're not being judged. Away you go. And the weight that is lifted from me every time I go there.
Yeah.
And he sent me a message literally just the other day, having a bit of a go at me, telling me I'm being a bit naughty because I haven't done it. It could be cars. It could be fishing. It could be all sorts of things.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, exactly right.
All those things. Yeah.
Thoroughly agree with Hillary on this. We've all got our currency in life.
Yes.
So
And
Go
I
and
did.
spend it.
I saw it out there in sort of natural habitat, like bushland, and you've got the water, and it's like down south when you go to Dwelling Up
Yep.
and Collie and all those wonderful places.
Love
and
those places.
you just become very grounded with nature, and whether you're going on a bike ride, or you're going on a car rally, or you're throwing a rod into the water, whatever
Don't throw the
takes
rod.
you.
Fine. Throw the line.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think there's too many, especially throw the line. So I think there is too many people that are closed down, and probably men feeling and women feeling a lot of guilt, feeling a lot of shame, feeling a lot of alienation, and not knowing what to do with it. And this is the part where really gets me angry, because there are too many lost lives because people are keeping it under the radar. And I think it's time that we brought it out into the light, and we've got to bring the truth out into the light so people can get set free.
Agreed.
right.
So what, tell us about perhaps a story, because I think our viewers, without mentioning any names,
Yeah.
can you give us a story about someone that has suffered, and what you have seen, and what's happened to their life, just so that people can really capture your vision?
I've got one really devastating, and I'm going to tell this story because it is absolutely devastating. It's probably one of the worst stories that I have come across. So a family member shared on one of the groups, their brother had been incarcerated. The 3 screws wardens, whatever their title is,
Yep.
left his cell door unlocked, stood to the side. A group of inmates went in. You can only imagine what went on. He was so traumatized. When he came out, he took his life.
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing that, the system is just, well, we know, like you said, Aaron, we know it's designed. So, this is how they reach at our heartstrings. They destroy families. There are others who have written out their forms for, it could be a visitation, with family, and the person they hand it to stands there and tears it up right in front of them.
Yeah, I've heard these stories, and actually we've actually had some. Well, again, what do we want to call them? Wardens or
Correction officers?
There you go. There's the correct term. Okay, we've got you, the genius, on board here. So correction officers.
I just do want to say.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I just
wanted to say, sorry to interrupt. I did just want to. Yeah.
Go on.
They're not all bad, but they get persecuted as well.
I agree. Actually, that's where I was going on that one. Is that it is so, again, the bullying and carrying on that's in there. You'll find a lot of the prison guards will actually be bullied and harassed, and all sorts of very horrible things happen to them if they don't participate in what you're talking about. So it's kind of like, what do they do there? It's an unwinnable situation.
It just happens. I think in every industry, it doesn't matter what. You can be in a CEO amongst a whole bunch of CEOs. I think people have a hierarchy. There's bullying systems. And, I'm wondering, about faith. Like this particular person that we know, he suddenly developed a faith in God. So he had to turn to something bigger than himself. Sure. And today you wouldn't even recognize him. This young man, I've known him most of his life, and the person he was when he committed a crime is not the person who he was. Yeah. And it makes me, as a sort of a person that does the work that I do, ask the question, what caused them to go down that road? What caused them to, be entangled in that? And this is where I feel what you're saying could be a huge gap in the system. Developing a retreat.
Oh.
I mean, if you had a retreat and you got the right people on board to support you, Hillary, there'd be people coming from all over the state to come to where you are, because it's so needed.
Absolutely. I'm going to go through the healing for a moment, because
Beautiful.
So the healing path, it can be challenging, it can be confrontational, it can be overwhelming, only if you let it.
Yeah,
I
that's
met a
right.
lovely lady who told us about the trauma. You see, we all carry trauma. The difference is how we carry it and navigate life with the weight on our shoulders. For each and every one of us, in order to become whole, in order to become the very best version of ourselves, we need to heal that which holds us back.
Yep.
We must love thyself. Forgive you. Forgive those who have harmed and injured you. The most challenging things, these are the three most challenging things, and they are the most powerful things. Forgive you for anything and everything you feel guilty for. What happened, and most people suffer trauma in the beginning, in their childhood, and our society lets them down by not facilitating their pain and not getting to it right there, right then, so they can become whole adults.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the whole governing system lets us down. And then as you come out, oh, you need a psychiatrist, you need a psychologist. Well, guess what? That's $120 to $250 a visit. People need something like that ongoing for years at weekly visits. So they make it out of reach. Most of our trauma begins
and they're
in
ruminating as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but they're ruminating. So they're going around and around their problems, making them sometimes feel worse.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And you know what, on that
That's
front, though,
right.
I'm going to talk about dads in this particular case, right? Now, say if you are in this situation, you want to see your children, you're going through all of this trauma, and that most of the trauma comes from the family court system. That's my opinion, and I think it's pretty comfortably based, right? Now, you've just said about cost of counselling, okay? Now, cost of a psychologist these days is, believe it or not, without the rebate, it's about $290 for 50 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
$290, which is interesting, because if you want to have a 1 hour supervised visitation with your child, which most men are now forced into, it costs about that for an hour. So you pay just under $300 an hour to see your own children. So what I'm getting at is you are financially you are pushed down, and you love your children and you want to see your children. You'll go to whatever means you have to. You will sell your soul, well, not your soul, but certainly your everything, your kidneys, right, to see your kids. Now, you can't go and see a counsellor as well because you can't afford it, right? But if
unless you sell your kidney.
Exactly right. Well, you're only getting $8,000 for them at the moment, apparently. But there we go. It's just a horrible cycle of pain. And of course, when you want to see your children, you love your children, you're being kept from them, you obviously put them as the priority. Why wouldn't you? Because that's what it's all about. This is, and this is a reason why. And the current figures are just terrifying. So, I mean, the current figures of men who are committing suicide due to the fact they can't see their children is 47 to 49 men per week, 7 per day. Today, 7 men, 7 dads took their lives today because they couldn't see their kids. And if that's not criminal, now I feel for the people with a lot of stuff going on. That's real. And obviously that averages out through the year. But I mean, I think about Christmas Day. I think about birthdays. I mean, Christmas Day, literally probably, just a massive amount of men will take their lives. We need to work together. Men and women need to work together to stop this from happening. Currently, it is 84.1% of cases that go before the family court, the father is erased from the children's lives. He's removed from the children's lives, okay? 84.1. That is criminal. And we're supposed to be living in a world where we're promoting equality all the time. Well, I can't see any equality in that. Now, that's not against genders. That's not having a go at women. I'm very, very lucky. I've got wonderful women in my life. So, yeah, fantastic. So it's not that. But unfortunately, we're in a situation where we're having this conversation now where people like yourself have to step up. Hillary, like yourself, have to step up because the only way this is going to change is to work together as a team. Because it's not about male or female. It's about children. And right now, the family court system is all about making customers of the future. That is all it's there for.
I absolutely agree. It's children that get hurt and, they need their fathers, they need their mothers. And, when they're depriving, okay, there may be a legitimate reason if it's a danger or it's,
look, I'm going to stop you right there, Terry. Almost every, and I mean this, over 80% of allegations made like that are false. Okay, that is the big thing. And they do not chase up perjury in the family court or the system. You can right now, we live right now in a world where it is quite frankly illegal to be a father, all right? It really is.
Illegal to be a father?
It's illegal to be a father. You have no rights whatsoever, and a woman can make up whatever she likes because since Julia Gillard changed the rules back in 2010, 2011 over the crossover, okay, you do not require any evidence whatsoever for a violence restraining order. Now, that is just opening the floodgates for abuse. And guess what? The day that actually came into law, domestic abuse went up 400%. Did you know that? 400% in a day. So, again, this is not a blame game. This is actually the time where we go, okay,
it's the can of worms.
It really is. Okay, guess what? Those horrible people that work in that system, those evil people, because they are evil, they've had their go. It is now time we took control. We've seen the world has been out of control for a while now, okay? It's time we actually threw the evil people out of these positions of power and we stepped up and let the adults run the room again. This is very important. And we don't get that if we're fighting man versus woman, gay versus straight, religion versus religion. The only way we achieve this, we work together. Simple as that.
I do hear you, and I have to say that I would just take out the generalization because I think there are bad people and good people in every, in every group, regardless. And it's really up to the parents. What I'm hearing is it's coming back to the parents. And if the system is broken and one parent has taken advantage of the system because she thinks, oh, I'm going to get enabled here. I'm going to be poor little Pollyanna. I'm going to, get all these special favors. Then, that's on her for the rest of her life. But it's about, like you say, children, bringing it back to the children and allowing the parents to take responsibility. And as for all these people in these systems, you're going to get good and bad, just like politics. You're going to get, it's just the way it is, good cop, bad cop. And so I would really say, when you are robbing your child from a parent, you are damaging your child. That's what you're doing.
I thoroughly agree, and I put it in more blatant terms. If you keep a loving parent, a loving, safe parent away from your child, you are a child abuser. It is that simple.
Well, it is abuse, really.
It is abuse because you are the psychological damage you are doing to that child is horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And these people should be found. If you have committed perjury, okay, in Western Australia, only 2 cases of perjury per year are actually pursued. 2, right? When let's be frank, every single case that goes before the courts in Western Australia contains perjury. Every case, okay? Everybody tells a lie of some description. Right? So now they say they go after 2 because it's because then they can say multiple cases have been pursued. It's just a play on words.
Yeah.
We've got a system right now that is rewarding is rewarding theft of children. When one parent can take a child away, and the government will give them a $7,000 incentive to do so. That's current figures. Okay, there's a $7,000 bounty for stealing children. Okay, you can call it all sorts of whatever you like, but that's what you get. That is purely evil, and that shows without any doubt that the government doesn't work for the people. It does not work for the people.
Well, maybe we need to put these people out of a job.
That's what we're working on.
Let's. I think Hillary, you're on the right track
Agreed.
here. Saving from a broken system, being able to support parents, being able to give people a second chance. And I absolutely love what you've said about forgiveness, because there's not just the forgiveness of the other people or the other person, but it's bringing it back to yourself and forgiving yourself. So I guess we're going to be wrapping up the show. But can I ask Hillary one last question?
Ask away.
Yeah. So, Hillary, I love to say this on my podcast, but I know you're passionate and you have a heart of gold. And, there may be moments when you feel angry as well. And I think sometimes that can be a really big driving force. Emotions can drive.
Yep.
Passion and purpose. And that's what the Genius Zone, that's why we've got you on the Genius Zone, because it's about converting pain to power. So where you see the gap, you're now in that realm of what I call the GUR, which is an acronym, and the GUR is really the gold. G is the gold, and the gold is the gold of where you see the gap. R is from recognizing, say, for example, a broken system or a broken situation. The second R is about releasing. And actually, that's what you're talking about. So releasing and letting go. And finally, the third one is about revolutionizing your life. So giving that person that opportunity, because there's no perfect human beings. We're all fall short of the glory of God.
Very, very, very flawed.
So here's my question. Sorry, I really framed that. So if there was something that was really burning on your heart, that you get off this particular broadcast and you think, oh, I really would love to put that message out there, what would you love to say right now? What would be some words to speak?
Okay.
Hillary?
How many hours have you got? No. So what I want to do is go through a healing task. I really want to go through a healing task for everyone. So the first step in healing for many is finding their way to one of the true support groups and finding the courage to share what they are currently experiencing and feeling and what they have experienced. Now I'm going to offer a next step. If you have hurt someone, if you have done wrong by someone, if you have done something to harm someone, if you have harmed yourself, whether it's physically, emotionally, or whatever it was that you have recognized you have done to cause pain to self and or others, it could be a stranger, your mum, your dad, children, a friend, whoever it is, write a letter of apology. Hear me out here. Write a letter of apology. If needed, write it anonymously. And if possible, find a way to deliver that letter to that person or persons. It is up to them how they take it, how they respond. It is up to them what they do about it. That is not your control. If not delivered to that person, then offer it up to God, Creator, by lighting a fire on a night of a full moon and burning it in ceremony. That may sound strange, but
Not at all.
it is not. If you carry this out with true heartfelt intention, you can do this as a group or as an individual alone. This is taking accountability for your wrongdoing. This is ownership of your wrongdoing, and that is a huge step on the path of redemption. This is a time to hug yourself, to love yourself, to have your own back. Think about how you feel when you read something good or when you read something not so good. Think of the emotion it triggers, the positive or negative power it projects onto you. The written word is very powerful.
Oh,
Can I do closing?
Sure.
Please do. Please do. Can I just say one thing?
Oh,
I did that when I was 12 years old. We got to write everything out that we felt negative about and burn it. It works.
Really?
So good.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
releasing. You're letting it go.
Just don't
There
write it.
is so much more.
What a blessing.
There's so much more I could keep speaking about. Can you hear that? From dusk
I
to
will
dawn.
get you back on the show.
For now, though, let's find our way back to love, compassion, enlightenment. Let's build our villages. Let's create unity, live with and from respect. And with that, within respect is love, is compassion, is communication, is consideration for others, is sharing, is joy, is forgiveness, is grace, is intention, is gratitude for all that is vibration, is frequency, is energy, is everything that makes us when we are true to heart, when we are true to soul, when we are true to the God within and our God creator. When you leave judgment behind, when you leave controlling ego behind, when you accept that you deserve, you become your true version of you, standing in truth with courage. You deserve. You are love. You are compassion. You are enlightenment, and you are strong.
Well, Hillary, you rock.
Boom.
There we go. Boom with that one. Thank you so much for that. That's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry,
amazing.
for
Thank you.
for everything you do and bringing this lovely person, Hillary, to the show today. And I think, and I want to give you a bit of credit on this one, because when Hillary approached us to talk about her story, I thought to myself, well, what show do we have that really fits? And I think that after now speaking to you, I think my word, Genius Zone is absolutely perfect, because Hillary has nailed it with the Genius Zone.
You are the Genius Zone.
Yeah, you've found exactly your genius and what you can do that will change the world. The fact of the matter is, we need to turn negatives into positives, and this is a very strong way of doing it. And I really appreciate what you brought to us today. And with that, we will get out of here. It is after 5.
Happy hour.
Happy hour. You haven't even had a sip, I believe, but there we go. Okay,
Cheers.
there we
Cheers,
go.
Hillary.
Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.
There we go.
Awesome.
Cheers, everybody. Fantastic. And don't forget, of course, to like, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things, and share this. Grab the link and share this to all your friends and family and anybody who thinks that anybody you think would gain from it. Thank you very much for being part of the Genius Zone here on Edge Radio Australia.